What is going on, y'all? Mama here, back with another.
Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Thursday, August the 21st. We have a decent amount of red folder news events coming into today. As for yesterday, really nice opening drive sell-off towards the downside after rejecting off of your this was your Tuesday's lows. We had a nice push towards the downside. And then we had a little bit of a bounce coming into yesterday. Currently, we are right in between yesterday's range. We'll talk about the SPY along with the rest of the indices and the tech names here in a second. Before we go on to the charts today, good morning. What's up, everyone? Daniela, Jeff, B Roots. What's up, Robert, Logan, Victor? Good morning, KO, Johnny. What's up, Monty, JT, Non Tolly? Happy birthday. What's up, I am? What's up, Martin? Random. What moving averages? 921. What's up, Brian? Good morning, 50. 2D. Good morning, Dizzy. Let's see. From the live streams, yeah, these live streams, you can ask some people. Let's see. What's up, Jose? Check out not found. You can try and contact WAP, or you can, try and contact WAP. What's up, Wayne? Good morning. What's up, Daniel? Juan, Under. What's up, Darth, Prince, Cinna, Patrick, Eileen. Good morning, Robert, True, Hugo, Chris. Yeah. What's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. First things first, let me pull up the economic calendar here, and then we will head on to some charts. So let me pull this up. As you can see right here, for the economic calendar, what we have coming into today, we do have unemployment at 8:30. That is going to be a red folder news event. We do have flash services that is at 9:45, and they can see at 10 a.m. We do have that Jackson Hole event that's going to come all the way, that's going to last until Saturday. So we have tomorrow where Fed Chair Powell speaking, and then Saturday here as well. So a decent amount of red folder news events coming into today. And we also have some orange folder news events here as well. So that's something to keep in mind if we are looking to trade today. So that's what we have on the major indices. Now let's head on to some of the charts that we have. So first things first, let's go on to the ES. So ES key levels that we have coming into today along with yesterday was our Tuesday's high. So this is a very key level. You marked out your Tuesday's highs yesterday. We talked about this. If we can get underneath your Tuesday's highs, there's continuation down in towards your pre-market lows and below. You can see on the lower time frames, once we got underneath right off the bat, right, immediate retest underneath your Tuesday's lows, and now you can see nice continuation, and you can see beautiful sell-off right off the bat, all the way towards the downside. So hopefully some of you guys were able to catch this one yesterday on the ES. As for today, key levels that we have marked out are just going to be the exact same levels from yesterday. 6420. And then we also have our 6380. So these are the levels essentially close to your previous day highs along with your previous day lows. You can see currently we're essentially right inside the middle of the range. So coming to market open, we're going to be a little bit more patient today just because we're farther away from your previous day highs along with your previous day lows. And if you do want to see some more downside, preferably consolidation, range break, continuation down in towards your previous day lows. As for upside, I'm not as interested unless we can reclaim back above your Tuesday's lows. So for me, long side, it's going to have to reclaim back above your 6420 for me to be somewhat bullish here on the higher time frames. As for the SPY, key levels that we have coming into today is going to be your 638.90. Similar thing here, Tuesday's lows. Once we got underneath your Tuesday's lows, nice continuation towards the downside. Immediate retest right off the bat. You can see a very large push down in towards that 633.50. Key levels that we can have marked out now, previous day highs. We also have your previous day lows marked out. We can drag this one over, and then you can see, right, we have equilibrium essentially marked out, which is our 635.50. So coming into today here, the key levels, your Tuesday's lows along with your previous day highs, along with your previous day lows. Right off the bat, we're going to open up right in between the middle of the range. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, especially within the first 15 to 30 minutes today. The reason being is because we're in between its previous day's range. We also do have a bunch of red folder news events. So if I pull out the economic calendar once again, we do have unemployment, but we do have flash services that is at 9:45. So most likely you're going to wait regardless for 9:45 just because we have a red folder news event at 9:45. So wait for that first 15 minutes to develop. and you're just going to see if the market is going to choose an overall direction. But basically 15 minutes, you're going to wait for it to play out. If you do want to see some more downside, number one, it's going to have to get underneath your 635.50 and hold, and then potentially like your 1 minute or 5 minute range low, hold underneath for this continuation towards the downside. Upside, as I mentioned, not as interested unless we can really get above your 638.90s for continuation back towards the high. So it is going to open up right inside the middle of the range. Of course, if we zoom out, we are leaning a little bit more towards the downside just based off of the past 2 days. But currently, I'm going to be a little bit more neutral coming to market open with it being inside of its previous day's range. As for the QQQ, what we have coming into today, so you can see the Q's a little bit weaker than the spine itself. Your Tuesday's lows is all the way back up in towards your 23,425. You can see another rejection right off the bat. Immediate retest off your Tuesday's lows. Nice opening drive play towards the downside. Now for the NQ, you can see it's just coming right back up and towards essentially our pre-market lows from yesterday. So this is the exact level you can see so far. It's retesting this general level. You can see a couple touches here in the pre-market. So for the NQ, this one's a little bit cleaner. What we like to see is it maintain underneath your 23,328 for continuation towards the downside. So this is going to be the key level. You can see we already have multiple touches on the ES. Next level that we have is really all the way back down in towards your previous day lows. Now we're going to have to mark out like other intraday levels here as well. But for the NQ, what I would like to see for downside, as long as it can maintain underneath your 23,328, we can see some continuation towards the downside. We are in between its previous day's range, similar thing to the ES, so I'd be a little bit more cautious, at least right off the bat. For upside, minimum, it's going to have to reclaim back above this 23,328, or it's going to have to reclaim back above your previous day highs, which I would like a lot better, which is your 23,425. As for the QQQ, let me actually just redraw some levels here. For the QQQ, the key levels that I have marked out, previous day highs. We also have our pre-market levels here as well. So the key levels is going to be this 566. We have our 568, which is our previous day highs along with your Tuesday's lows. And now we also just have your pre-market levels, exact same levels here as the NQ. If you can maintain underneath your pre-market lows, we can pre-market highs, we can see this continue push towards the downside. If we want to see some upside, minimum above your 566, or prefer above your previous day highs, which is going to be your 568. So that's what we have for the Qs. If we zoom out just a little bit, we can actually just remove some of these levels now since they're not relevant. Key levels coming into today, as I mentioned, right, 566.68. We are still in a very much clear downtrend. So what I would like to see, at least right off the bat, right, consolidation. And then if we do want to head lower, then right, 5 minute range, potential break below towards the downside. All right, so that's what we have for the major indices coming into today. We are in the range, but leaning a little bit more towards the downside just based off the past few days price action. We are going to come in with a little bit more of a soft bias today, just because we also do have red folder news at 9:45. So let's head on to some tech names. Let's go on to Nvidia first. Let me remove a few levels here as well. So Nvidia, really solid push towards the downside. This is what I traded yesterday, right down in towards the exact low, which was that 169.50s. Super nice 5 minute range retest towards the downside. My mic is dropping. Give me a second. So yeah, sorry, mic was dropping there, but as you can see right here, for Nvidia, nice push down in towards that 169.50. Some buyers stepping in here. We talked about that reversal usually after 10 o'clock with the overall markets bouncing. But now you can see for Nvidia, I'm not as bearish on this one just because now you can see Qs in between yesterday's range, whereas Nvidia is actually above its previous day high. So not interested in downside on this ticker. Key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 174.50s. We can also refine the other levels here as well. Let me actually just refine this. So what we can do is mark out your low that we created here on Tuesday, and we can actually even drag it down in towards your your previous day highs, if you like here as well, which is going to be that 175. So we have this level marked out here on Nvidia, essentially your previous day highs along with your Tuesday's highs. If we want to see some downside, right, get back underneath your 175.50 for potential continuation towards the downside. If we want to stay strong, right, above your previous day highs, potential bounce back up and towards your pre-market highs here. So that's going to be the key level today. It's going to be your 175.50s here on Nvidia. As I mentioned, I'm not as interested just because the overall market is a lot weaker than the semiconductors themselves. As for AMD, another one, nice kind of opening drive play towards the downside, rejected perfectly off of your Tuesday's highs for this push lower. And now you can see, right, markets bouncing here, similar thing. Key level that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 166.50. If we reject off this level, we can see some downside in towards that 164. If we reclaim back above this level, we can see this push back up in towards this 168.50 here on AMD. So AMD, Nvidia, definitely a little bit stronger compared to the overall market. So definitely not looking for shorts on this one. As for Tesla, this one had a nice push towards the downside. We actually ended up taking out key levels here as well. So for Tesla, we ended up breaking underneath key levels yesterday, which was that 328 we're talking about. Next levels towards the downside was this 316. You can see some buyers kind of stepping in off this 316 here now. So for some shorts, preferably underneath this 316 is going to be the best for continuation towards the downside. A lot of these ones had decent bounces yesterday compared to the overall market, so I'll be a little bit cautious looking forward this next leg lower. You're going to have to wait for extra confirmation in this case. Preferably underneath your previous day lows is going to have the best opportunity. So for Tesla and the rest of the names, right, with it being inside this pretty big range that we created yesterday, I'm not that interested in trading it in between its previous day highs and its previous day lows. Unless we can have some sort of solid opening range setup, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, especially with red folder news. So Tesla, similar thing. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious on this one unless it shows a lot of weakness coming to market open. As for Meta, this is something we can actually keep an eye out on just because it has this higher time frame gap. So if we zoom out just a little bit here on Meta, we're on the 1 hour chart currently. You can see we have a huge gap up due to earnings. This was back from July the 31st. Now you can see that Meta is trying to use this level as resistance. So this is your support level, your previous all-time highs here as well. What we'd like to see now is it hold underneath the 744. If it can hold underneath the 744, potentially we can see some more downside here towards your previous day lows and below, right? This does have a gap fill from earnings. There's also a very big imbalance here, so that we can keep an eye out potentially on Meta underneath that 744. I'd actually be interested in this one just because it has a higher time frame setup. If it does show strength reclaim, then I'm not interested. But if it does stay heavy, I would be interested in Meta if it can show some weakness right off the bat or pop and fade. Right, as long as it maintains underneath the 744, I'm interested in Meta for a potential gap fill towards the downside. So we'll keep an eye out on Meta coming into today and kind of moving forward here as well for that potential gap fill. As for a few other names here, let's go on to Apple. Apple key level that we have here is your 225. So as you can see, we're coming right back down in towards key levels of support. Yesterday, breaking underneath that 230. We talked about that next level being that 225. So for Apple, you'd like to see the buyers step in here off this 225.50 for this continuation back towards the upside. If we are unable to hold this level, let's say we pop, get back underneath your 225.50, potentially we can see some more downside down in towards this level, which is going to be that 221. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple here as well, right at a key level support, which is that 225. If it does want to stay heavy, we could see some more downside here. As I mentioned, next level is going to be that it's going to be your 221 here. 221 and this 222 on the higher time frame. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple. It is at a very key level of support coming into today. As for some other charts that we have, Google, not too much to talk about on this one, just a lot more consolidation now, kind of just slowly moving towards the downside here with the overall indices. It's actually just coming right back in towards your earnings highs. So I would definitely not be interested in shorting Google unless we can get underneath your earnings high. This is a very key level. You can see the buyers are trying to step in off this key level here as well, 198.97. So for Google, I would only be interested in some more downside underneath this 198.97. Besides that, I'll be a little bit more cautious on this one. As for Microsoft, this one was definitely a leader towards the downside once we got underneath key levels, being that 518. We also got underneath this full daily gap, and then now you can see we're at our earnings low here as well. So for Microsoft, key levels that we have marked out, we have this level, which is our 508 earnings low. And now you can see this one's continuing lower towards the downside. So you can see right here, key level for Microsoft is your 508. As long as we maintain underneath your 508, we can see some continuation lower. Currently, this one's showing the most relative weakness in the overall market. So underneath your previous day lows for continuation towards the downside now, which is going to be this 503. So you can mark out your previous day lows, 503. And you like to see right underneath 503 hold for continuation towards the downside. As for Amazon, nice push towards the downside here as well. I think we had an earnings gap, we had this gap fill towards the downside, and we also had a key level of support being our 221. So for Amazon, you can see once we broke underneath this key pivot level, the next level that we had, also underneath your previous day lows, the next level is all the way back down in towards that 221. And now what we have marked out is going to be this 220. So for Amazon coming into today, this one looks like it's still staying heavy. You can see this pop is being shorted into. We like to see this push down in towards your previous day lows and now potentially all the way back down in towards 220. So that's what we have here on Amazon coming into today. We're just going to mark out essentially this general area 221 along with this 220 here on Amazon. As for Netflix, not too much else is going on. So coming into today here for the SPY and Qs, some things can change here with unemployment, but basically we're going to be right inside the middle of the range. Plus we have flash services, so you're most likely just going to wait for that first 15 to 30 minutes to develop coming into market open, unless we have like a big drop that gravitates down in towards your previous day lows right off the bat. So we're going to have a soft bias as long as the markets are in the middle of the range. We're going to be a little bit more cautious. As for some downside coming into today, I'll be a little bit more cautious today here as well, since we already had a nice push on Tuesday, really solid push down yesterday. You can see a lot of these names had pretty big bounces, right? Semiconductors off the table for me for long positions, for short positions. So semiconductors, not looking for shorts or continuation lower. Things that we can look for continuation lower here is going to be Meta, because we have this big daily gap fill plus that earnings that we had. So we can keep an eye out on Meta for continuation lower underneath this 744. But as you can see, this one's still within its previous day's range as well. So we're going to have to give this a little bit more breathing room if we're looking for continuation lower. Tesla still looks decent here as well. So we'll keep an eye out on Tesla for continuation lower now underneath that 328. So for Tesla, in between its range as well. So it's going to have to show me a little bit more weakness right off the bat, preferably now underneath this 320. But we'll keep an eye out on Tesla. If it drops right off the bat, potentially we could be looking for your 5-minute range retest for a push down in towards your previous day lows. And then we also do have Apple, this one showing a little bit of weakness here in the pre-market as well. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple. Previous day lows, potential pop and fade is in play for continuation lower towards the downside. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple, Meta, along with Tesla. As for the rest of the tickers, not as interested. Amazon does look decent here as well, so you could be looking for that one. But the rest of the names, I'll be a lot more cautious today, at least right off the bat. Yesterday, we could have been aggressive just because we're underneath its previous day lows. We're showing weakness in the pre-market, whereas today we have red folder news, plus we're inside the middle of the range. All right, let me go over some other names here as well. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over, you guys can drop them in the chat. All right. If you guys have any tickers or any charts you'd like me to go over, you guys can drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate it. If you guys drop me a like. If you guys haven't joined the watch list, that one is also in the description below as well. All right. Let me go over Palantir first. So Palantir, we talked about Palantir. You can see all the major levels it hit. We talked about this 145. You can see buyers stepping in right off that 145 level. Perfect. Right, you can see nice bounce right off where that 145, huge down close candle. I talked about this key level support. This is your down close candle all the way back from July and June of earlier this year. You can see the buyer stepped in perfectly right off this level. So this is a weekly higher time frame key level, a daily higher time frame key level. This doesn't mean that this is the bottom here for Palantir, but we're expecting a very nice bounce right off that level here, plus huge flush towards the downside. So Palantir, you can see nice push lower. Now we're actually above your previous day high. So I'm definitely not as interested in shorts in this one here as well, just because, right, really big pop yesterday. Now what we can have marked out is your previous day lows. Sorry, previous day highs along with your Tuesday's lows. This is the key area here for Palantir, 156 along with your 157. If we reject off this level, we can see a little bit of more downside, potentially back down towards your 151. If we maintain above your previous day highs, we can see this push back up and towards now it's going to be your pre-market high and potentially this 161.40. So that's the key levels that we have for Palantir. As for Hood, coming into today, key levels that we have on this name, you can see once we got underneath that 108, we talked about this one yesterday, underneath your low that we created on Tuesday, we can see this nice kind of push towards the downside. This was super solid. Perfect move from your 108 rejection here all the way down in towards that 99. And now you can see in between its previous day's range. So for Hood, another one right in between its previous day's range, a little bit more cautious on this one coming to market open. All right, let me scroll up here. There's some questions here as well. Walmart does have earnings. We did have earnings this morning. So for Walmart, if we zoom out here on the 1 hour time frame, not really too much to talk about here on Walmart. Key level you're just going to mark out is this level that we had this impulsive move towards the upside. Now we can also mark out your earnings high plus your earnings low here as well. So we actually do have this gap back towards the upside. Key levels for Walmart is, yeah, we have this key gap, which came very close to it here in the pre-market. Now you can see we're gravitating lower. So key levels for Walmart now that we're going to have marked out, we have a few. We can mark out your previous day lows, which is your 100 key psych. And now this is essentially the level that we broke down from. So I'm going to mark out this level, which is going to be this 100 key psych. And I'm also going to mark out this level here as well. There's not that many touches, but there's more touches on this one. And then we can mark out your 99. So for Walmart, not too much to talk about. We only dropped 3% here. I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually have this earnings reversal, right? Potential drop. And then we have that earnings reversal and we just continue right back up and towards our all-time highs and above. As for Target, this one had earnings yesterday in the morning. You can see bounce right off the bat. So this one, just mark out your previous day highs along with your previous day lows. What you want to do now is wait for, right, the break above your previous day highs for a potential earnings reversal. If it just maintains underneath your previous day highs, then we're just going to be stuck in between this range here on Target. So your trigger level now above your previous day highs here for Target. All right, let's see. Which is that orange? Yeah, it's not an indicator. It's just a session. So if you trade the futures chart, you're not going to have those. But if you trade any of the tech names, if you just pull up any chart, you're going to have the pre-market and you're going to have the after hours as well. Quick question. How do you look at relative strength in futures comparing to ES? Yeah, you're going to compare it to the ES and the NQ. So you can see that the NQ has been relatively weak compared to the ES. on this push towards the downside, right? If we're zoomed out here, like all the way back from here, and even yesterday and a few days before, right, all week we've been relatively weak. You can see Qs, perfect retest off your previous day lows right off the bat, whereas the ES were above your previous day lows, but once we got underneath, right, you can see retested here as well. So the NQ has been much more weaker than the ES on this whole push towards the downside. That's why a lot of these tech names had really nice moves lower. All right, let me go over some more tickers here. We do have also unemployment in about 3 minutes. All right, so for CrowdStrike, you can see nice little pullback here on this ticker. You can see it's just been in a downtrend for a while now. What you'd like to see here is to just maintain. Yeah, you can see we've been in a downtrend on the daily time frame for a while, 1 hour time frame, and a downtrend here as well. Every single pop has just been shorted towards the downside. Key levels, we do have this 314. Key levels now that we can have marked out, just intraday levels based off the 1 hour chart. This key pivot high 420, as long as it maintains underneath 420, you can expect continuation towards the downside. If you can reclaim back above 420, potentially you can see a little bit of a bounce here for a push back towards the upside. Hood, Palantir went over those ones. APLD, yeah, this one's pushing higher. Still looks good here on the higher time frames as well, holding key levels, which is your 14. As for this, let me just refine this here as well. Key levels that we can have marked out is going to be this 1520. So you can see we have multiple touches off this general level. Now we're reclaiming back above. You like to see it maintain above your 1524 continuation, break underneath. You can see this continuation back towards the downside. All right, let me go over a couple more tickers before unemployment, and then we'll go over a few more after, and then we'll talk about the game plan coming into today. As for SoFi, this one dropping with the overall market here as well. SoFi, I'm still fairly bullish here on the daily chart. You can see in the past 20 to 40 days, we haven't really done too much, just a little bit more consolidation. But as long as you can maintain above your 2050, SoFi is going to be one of my top watches for continuation once the market does bounce, because SoFi does still have room towards your all-time highs level. You can see multiple touches. If we can maintain higher lows, the next logical level, if you can break above your 25, is going to be this all-time highs here on SoFi. So far, every dip has gotten bought up, but right now we're just kind of ranging in between, right? This earnings high along with this earnings low. So not too much to talk about on this ticker. Let me scroll down here as well. All right, we actually do have unemployment. So we'll see if this affects the market. It'll probably come in line with expectations, but we'll see if we have any sort of reaction here with the overall indices themselves. All right, so we just had unemployment. Came in a little bit higher, we'll see. Came in a little bit higher than expected, as you can see. Not by a lot, but forecasted 226. Came in a little bit higher, 235 for unemployment. So let's see the overall market reaction. But yeah, market usually doesn't react with unemployment. The major news events we always talk about, PPI, CPI, and FOMC. These ones are a little bit smaller. Sometimes you can have some surprises, but normally speaking, they won't have too big of moves. We do have consumer sentiment, which is usually a big one as well. But the major three, CPI, PPI, and FOMC. Right, the FOMC statement that we had, you can see it did affect the market, but not as much. But we did have a decent amount of volatility just based off of its day previous. So for the NQ, basically the exact same game plan still is intact. We're going to be a lot more cautious, at least within the first 15 to 30 minutes of market open today, just based off the things I laid out earlier, with it being in between its previous day's range, along with flash services that is at 945. So with the SPY and Qs, a little bit more neutral, but of course I'm leaning to the downside a little bit more, but more neutral today. Similar thing here with SPY, neutral, but leaning a little bit more towards the downside just based off its past 2 days. As for the top watches, they're still intact. We're going to be a little bit more cautious, but Meta, potential rejection off this 745. Apple, This one's coming back up and towards your previous day low, so we'll see if there's any sort of rejection on this one. But I'm going to be a lot more patient today and wait for definitely more confirmation in an intraday setup, which will primarily be based off of relative strength and weakness. If the market does want to decide to head lower, Tesla, similar thing. If it does want to show weak price action right off the bat, we could potentially be looking for a continuation lower. We'll keep an eye out on Microsoft and Amazon here as well. All right, let's go on to a few more tickers. I went over Palantir, Hood. We'll go over a few more here, and then I will call it a day and get ready for market open. All right, let's see. MSTR. Yeah, as for MSTR, this one push towards the downside, kind of retest right off the bat. Now, once it reclaimed back above your Tuesday's lows, we end up having this nice mean reversion. So for something like MSTR coming into today, key levels, we can actually refine this now. Previous day highs along with your Tuesday's lows. In between this range, in my opinion, is going to be a no trade. If you can break above, you could be looking for longs above your 344. If you consolidate, potentially break underneath your Tuesday's lows, then you can be interested in shorts underneath this 344. But in between here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to trade. You could be looking for scalps, but preferably no trades in between this range. As for Oracle, this one dropping here as well with the overall markets. You can see once we broke underneath key levels, in this case, it was our 242. Nice continuation towards the downside all the way towards now. It's 235 here and below. So for Oracle, key levels that we have marked out is just going to be this key pivot low. And now we can go into the 15-minute time frame. You can see for Oracle now, this one does still look good since it is fairly heavy. Key level is going to be this 235, and we also have marked out now. It's going to be your Tuesday's low. So potential pop and fade underneath your 235, or you like to see now it's going to be the trade underneath your 232 for this push down in towards that 228. So that's what we have here for Oracle. As for Coinbase, key level that we have is essentially this low that you can see we're bouncing off of. We can refine this actually all the way down in towards here, 292. So that's what we have here for Coin. Other key levels that we have marked out now is just going to be your previous day highs along with your Tuesday's lows. So for Coin, the other key level we can have marked out is going to be your Tuesday's low. So if you can maintain underneath your Tuesday's lows, get underneath, potential retest for continuation lower. If you reclaim this level, I personally like to see a push up in towards your previous day highs, and then we can see the reaction that we have off your previous day highs from there. What platform do you use to trade? I personally use Interactive Brokers for my actual executions, and then for my charting platform, I'll use TradingView. I have no sessions under symbol. You'll have that. If you go here, you can see if you have sessions, it's right here. If you go into the futures, you go into the settings, and then you go into the session right here. If you want to see the electronic trading hours, then you can do this. You can put on the electronic trading hours, and you can see how that changes the colors. All right. Let's see. Good morning, Jack. Didn't receive a reply on Instagram. If I pay the link monthly, will you add role? Yeah, it'll automatically add the role. I wasn't sure what your username was, so I couldn't find it. Thanks for the update. Let's see. Unemployment worse. Yes, that is correct. You might need to have extended trading hours on. What ticker do you recommend for options for beginners? That one, I'd recommend sticking to a very small amount, but Tesla definitely not that beginner friendly, and it's harder to manage risk. But if you trade Nvidia, AMD, SPY, Qs, Apple, those ones are fine if you do have a smaller account. But the main thing is to manage risk properly. If you are beginning, I'd definitely recommend demo trading to understand the actual how options move because they are different than stocks themselves. All right, let's see. I'll go over a few more tickers here and then most likely call it a day and get ready for market open. I don't see too much today. CRWV kind of coming all the way back down after having earnings. A little bit of buyers stepping in. Key levels that you're going to have marked out now is essentially going to be, or you have a couple key levels. You can mark out your low that we created from last Friday down in towards your previous day highs if you like. In kind of this pre-market level, but you can have this here for CRWV. You like to see it above your your 94.50 for continuation higher. So that's what we have here for CRWV. As for some other tickers, let me go over IWM. So IWM key level that we talked about yesterday was this 226. So this 226 here, you can see broke underneath. Now for IWM, looks a little bit more bearish underneath this 226. Now if you can get underneath its previous day lows, there's potential we can see it push all the way back down in towards this 221. So key levels, you're just going to have marked out previous day lows. You're also going to have marked out previous day highs. You're leaning a little bit more towards the downside here now on IWM. If you want to see some upside, you personally like to see a reclaim back above your 226 for this continuation back towards the upside. All right, so that's what we have here for IWM. We can just draw at this level. So these are your key levels: previous day highs, previous day lows. All right, TSLA, yeah, that as well. It's a double leverage. It moves a little bit different. I personally have not traded that, but it moves fairly similar. At least the actual underlying does. How do you manage FOMO on these short setups? Do you have daily targets? How do you manage over trading? You can just have rules in place for over trading wise. If you have strict rules, let's say you only take 2 to 3 trades a day, that's one way to combat it. Another way for FOMO, at least, you can even take a smaller position size. That's what I used to do. Is if I had like a big move or I already missed the setup, and I want to trade it, right? Am I trading it based off of emotions, or if I'm trading it based off the actual setup? And if I do still like the setup, but I feel like I'm emotional just because I missed the first move, then I'll take it either on lighter size, or I would just watch price action, right? That's something you could do as well. So you trade futures. I trade futures as well. Not as much as options, but I will trade futures every once in a while. All right. Let me see if there's any other questions or any tickers. Yeah, went over MSTR. Do I journal? Yes. It does draw down. What does drawdown mean? It just means a drawdown on your account. So if you have, right, an equity curve, a pullback is essentially a drawdown. What do you get if you become members of WAP? Can you give a video on more details? You can check that one. That one's in the description. I have a very brief video going over. Plus, you can see what's inside. Okay, yeah, that's about it. So I'm gonna get ready for market open here today. I'm gonna be a lot more cautious. We're gonna see what dictates the market within the first 15 to 30 minutes of market open. As I mentioned, be a little bit more patient today. I don't really expect an opening drive, at least right off the bat, right? If this occurs, right, we could be looking for more continuation down and towards your previous day lows, but today we're in between its previous day range. So we're still leaning bearish, but we're going to be a little bit more cautious just because we do have flash services. That's at 9:45. So we're going to wait for the first 15 minutes to develop regardless here on the overall indices. And then if the first 15 minutes develops and we have continuation lower, then we could be looking for, right, shorts and continuation towards the downside. If we pop, then we're just going to be a little bit more patient. I'm not too interested in trading anything towards the long side unless we have extreme relative strength, or maybe it could be the semiconductors, but that would be about it. So that's basically the game plan coming into today. Yeah, that's it for me. So if you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub. If you guys do want to join the watch list, that is in the description below. And that's about it. So I will get ready for market open, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.